If you made it to this video, you hopefully have AutoCAD loaded onto your computer. If you haven't done so yet, you should go back and look at the previous videos under Getting Started and download and set up your AutoCAD software. What we're going to do now is go ahead and set up the AutoCAD environment so that we can easily create drawings. First of all, I want to point out on the top right hand side you should see your Autodesk account name. If your computer is not online for an extended period of time, AutoCAD may ask you to sign in again. In some ways, this can be a bit of a pain because you only have a limited amount of time to sign in, and if you don't get signed in, then time's out and you have to close AutoCAD, start the whole process over again. One of the easiest ways to sign back in is to go back to the AutoCAD or Autodesk education website and sign in there. If you're signed in there, then automatically you'll have that online connection so that AutoCAD will start up properly. One thing you can notice here is if you click around, you see that we have all these things that we can choose, but everything is essentially turned off. In order to start using AutoCAD, we need to open a file. And we can open a file by choosing New or going to the Open menu, but we're going to do it a different way. What we're going to do is come over here. This is the ribbon that will show you the list of files that you have open. And if you just click on plus, it will open an AutoCAD drawing. A new AutoCAD drawing, and it's a blank drawing, but now you have access to everything. So as I said, we wanted to set up AutoCAD, and we want to set it up so that we all have identical user interfaces. This way, that as I explain a feature, it will show exactly on your computer as it does on mine when you're watching this video. There are many different ways to do nearly everything in AutoCAD. And in some ways, I don't necessarily use the easiest to start, but eventually we will get there and get to those points. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to point you to the text box near the bottom of the screen. On the left-hand side of this box over here, you'll see an array of dots. This is the grip. And by clicking on this grip, right-clicking on the grip, and holding the mouse button down, you can move this command line anywhere you want. Well, what we want to do is we want to lock it to the bottom of the screen. So we can just move it down to the bottom of the screen, and eventually you're going to see it turn into a large hollow box. At that point, you can release the mouse button, and then this command box automatically will be locked to the screen. If you want to unlock it, you can. You can click on it and move it around again. But generally, we'll just keep it here. Now, what I'd like you to do is add some toolbars. They will help us create and modify drawings. In order to do this, we need to turn on the Quick Access toolbar, or the Quick Access menu bar. We can do this by clicking here on the top row on this little downward pointing triangle. This will open up a complete menu, and then if we click on Show Menu Bar, we'll add in an additional menu bar. This is called the Quick Menu Bar, and allows us to quickly access almost anything in AutoCAD. So on this menu bar, click on Tools, and then go down and click on Toolbars, slide over to AutoCAD, and then you see a whole list of possible toolbars. What we're going to do is we're going to select and click on the Draw toolbar, And that will immediately place the draw toolbar on the left-hand side of your drawing window, and it does lock it to the left-hand side. Now, if you notice, these icons are actually quite small. And depending on what you're using to view this video, they may or may not be readily visible. So what we're going to do is we're going to make them larger. We can do this by going on to the command line window at the bottom, typing options. We hit return, and this opens up the option window. Within the option window, we're going to click on display, and then under display, I'm going to click on use large buttons for toolbars. And when I click apply, you'll see that these buttons get nice and large and they should be more visible. Now, depending on, again, what kind of computer, monitor, or laptop you are using, you may want to leave these small, or you may want to enlarge them. Again, if you can enlarge them simply by clicking on this use large buttons for toolbar. I'm going to keep them large so that they will be easier for you to see. Finally, I'm going to click OK. Before I do, I want to point out this options menu has many different settings. There are literally thousands that we can set up. We generally don't make many changes to the options menu. In fact, this may be the only one. But again, as you get more comfortable with AutoCAD, you can go through and make changes. So I'm going to click OK. That will close the window. Now, we're not done adding toolbars. And we could go back up to Tools, click on Toolbars, AutoCAD, etc. But as I said, AutoCAD has many ways to do everything. And one way we can add additional toolbars is to just go over to this Draw toolbar and then right-click. And when we right-click, the toolbar menu and all the available toolbars show. And we can see we already have added the Draw toolbar. If we click on Draw again, it will go away. What we're going to add next is Modify. The Modify toolbar comes in over here all the way to the right, and it is also locked to the screen. We're going to right-click again, and we're going to add Object Snap. And we're not going to touch that now, although it's not locked anywhere. We will change that in a moment. And we'll click on it one more time, right-click again, and now we're going to add dimensions. We're going to put the dimensions in now, although we will not actually begin adding dimensions until just after chapter 3 or 4. We go through a chapter X, which is a sort of out of book project, and then we'll introduce dimensions. Okay, so anyway, we have these two toolbars. We do want to lock them to the screen or to the drawing window. So we can grab the Object Snap toolbar, and again, as we slide it up like the other toolbar, you'll see it change. You see how it immediately goes over to the right, over to the left. Once it does that, I can remove my finger from the left mouse button and it will lock. The Dimension toolbar ended up here. Now, in the case where you are using small toolbars, you may be able to add both toolbars to the same menu window. But you don't have to. If you just bring this up separately and don't walk it directly into the window, once you see it change and release, it will lock it to the top of the drawing window, but in a separate row. I'm going to leave these with 2 separate rows. And this is the one place where you can do whatever you like. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is make some changes within the drafting setting menu. If we click on Tools, we can scroll down, and 6 from the bottom, we'll see Drafting Settings. We're going to click on Drafting Settings, and then we're going to come over to Dynamic Input. Under Dynamic Input, we're going to uncheck this Enable Dimension Input where possible. When you're first using AutoCAD, if you're creating very simple drawings, it's actually helpful, but as you begin to do more complex drawings, it just adds additional lines and sometimes can add confusion. So we're going to keep this off. And we'll click OK to close down that Drafting Settings menu. Another drafting settings or drafting setting that we want to change is the polar snap. And if we come down here to this circle with an angle, if we hover over it, I believe I said polar snap, it's actually polar tracking. You can see where this says restrict cursor to specified angles. It's on. It's polar tracking F10. Well, we could just type F10 to turn it on or off, or we can just click on this icon. So we'll click on the icon. We can see it turned off. If I press F10, it will turn on again. Press F10 again, it will turn off. Two other changes we want to make. We want to add coordinates because it's helped us to know exactly where we are in the AutoCAD drawing space. So if I go to the bottom right hand corner, the 3 lines here will open up the customization menu. And on that customization menu, we want to click on coordinates, which you see it added coordinates down here. And then we are also going to click on line weights. We don't actually use line weights until much further on in this course, but we're going to turn them on now. And then finally we can click on customization again, and that menu goes away. Finally, although it doesn't seem to happen as often these days, 3 or 4 years ago it was fairly common that a student or even myself could somehow get the setup in such a way that they couldn't correct it. Sometimes some of these toolbars can essentially go off the screen so you can't actually see them. And apparently AutoCAD knows that things like this happen because they actually put in a way to correct them. And what AutoCAD has, if you go into your Start menu and you click on All, go down to your AutoCAD 2025, and as you look on the various programs here, you'll see one that says Reset Settings to Default. So in the event that somehow AutoCAD gets really screwed up, you can reset it to the same way it is when you initially start AutoCAD for the very first time. I'm not going to do that now because I do want to keep the settings that I have here. But this is exactly what I did before I started this video so that I could show you how to create the settings. You do need to close AutoCAD before you do this. So this completes this video for how to set up AutoCAD. In the next video, we will talk about the various ways that you are able to make a line, as well as talking about coordinate systems.